Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. So if you caught the video before, we gutted a book and we talked a little bit about how to do that and some of the basics to look for when you're selecting a book to alter for your junk journal. So if you didn't catch that one and you haven't done this before, you might look at that video. It's a real quick 10-minute video on how to do that. But this is what we had ended up with last time. And as you will notice, or you might remember, we talked about how this part was a little bit flimsy in the middle. And so we want to reinforce that, and we're going to do that before we actually cover the book today. So what I like to use, this is my beat up Tyvek envelope. This is one that I had some stuff that got mailed to me in one of these, and so I just cut it up and use it. And I like to use it for reinforcing spines because it's flexible and it's thin, but it's really durable. So it's kind of like a cross between a fiber and a paper. And so I like to use that to reinforce my spine. I know some people use, I think some people use fabric like muslin, or even packing tape, I think. So there are a lot of other videos out there about how to do that. But what I like to do is just make it a little bit larger than the spine so that it overhangs about a ½ inch or so. So, and it's going to be covered up later with end papers and that sort of thing, so it doesn't really have to be perfect. But I do like to keep it about where the existing end papers go, so that it doesn't go all the way down to the end and you don't see it on the end there. So I just kind of eyeball it. And trim that off, and you'll notice it's wrinkled and beat up, and that's okay because we are going to glue it down and smooth it out. Just getting my bone folder and my scraper tool. So I just, and you can use, I'm using Fabri-Tac. You could use a tacky glue, tacky white glue or whatever you have on hand. You want it fairly durable type of glue. And this is going to go over the entire inside. We're going to end up doing a hidden binding on this later when we get to that point. But this is going to just help reinforce that spine, because you're gonna put a lot of work into this, and you don't want the spine on an older book falling apart. So I just take my bone folder, that color is coming off from there, but we're gonna cover that. I'm just kind of trying to get some of that glue off of there. And what I do is I just kind of run my fingernail or my end of my bone folder down through there and crease that a little bit so it lays more flat in that spine area. Okay. So that's basically all I do to help reinforce that spine. Just gives it a little bit extra material there to make this a little bit stronger, especially in older books where you might see some splitting. And when I mentioned last video that sometimes you may accidentally cut through this crease when you're taking your book out, and if it's not too much, this will sometimes help hold that together if you've had that issue. So, okay, the spine is reinforced. Now we're going to work on actually covering the book with fabric on this video. So, you caught the last one. You remember this is the fabric that I picked out. And what I've done is I've just kind of picked where I want the pattern to end up on my journal cover, and I'm thinking this area right here of being the front. I guess it doesn't matter one way or another which way this goes, but so my front is going to be right around in here, and so that's kind of where I went off of when I was cutting this out, and I just really roughly cut. I didn't worry about making it square yet, but we'll get to that. So I've made it quite a bit bigger, a couple inches all the way around, just to give me a little bit to work with, and we're going to straighten this up and make it nice and neat once we get all the pieces put together for this. So I have my fabric. The next thing that I do is I use stuff called Heat and Bond. Okay. Heat and Bond is a fusible iron-on adhesive, and you can get it at most craft stores or like Walmart, places like that. And what I do is since I know this fabric is a little bit bigger than what I need, actually cut the Heat and Bond usually a little bit short so that I don't make a huge mess and get the adhesive stuck to my iron, which seems to happen more times than not. And you'll see there's kind of a shine to this. That's the adhesive side, and then the other side is paper. It's almost like a freezer paper or parchment paper type of thing. So this gets placed with the adhesive side down. And we're going to iron that on here. Just 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. I wanted to put some parchment paper down. I don't have a really good setup here at this table for ironing. Try this here. Hopefully this doesn't get too hot. Sometimes I put a towel underneath it. So you basically are just ironing this adhesive onto the fabric, and we're going to create a sandwich of fabric and paper. Will be our next step. And it doesn't take too long. You just want to make sure that all of the edges are good and adhered and get good coverage on this. That's not on very well. If you peel up a little bit of the edge and the adhesive is still sticking to the paper, you just need to go back over it a little bit. Now you could probably just glue your fabric directly onto the book, but I like to do this step because it gives it a little something extra in between the fabric and the glue, because sometimes, I don't know if you've had it happen before, where you've tried to glue your fabric and it makes, you know, a stain kind of on your fabric. It shows through sometimes, so I like to do this part. So you're just going to peel this paper away, and you should be left with, I don't know if you can kind of see the shiny, that's the adhesive on that side. And then what I do is I get some of this, I think I've seen people use tissue paper, but this is a little bit thicker. It's like a packing paper. A lot of times at places they'll wrap, you know, at like department stores, you get breakables or whatever, they'll wrap them in there. And so I just save those, and that's what I use on here. I'm actually going to turn this over and iron it from this side. And so this is going to adhere your fabric to the paper, and we'll end up with a paper backing then on the back of our fabric. Both sides just to make sure I get rid of that adhesive and get that heated well. To make sure that you go all the way around, that you're getting a good thing. I've watched a few different videos and kind of do a method cross between a couple different ones. I think one of them was Tsunami Rose, if I remember right. And the other one is Zoe Tofield. I'll try to link those in the comments box, because you might want to watch their videos. They do them a little bit different, but it's kind of a method that I've combined between the two, and it works for me. So now this is the part that was overlapped. It did not have any adhesive on it, so it's not going to stick anyway. But the rest of it looks pretty good. And our next step is going to be to trim this down to the size that we need and kind of straighten it up the edges. So really big workspace, so I keep all my stuff on the shelf behind me, and that's why I have to keep going and grabbing stuff. I'm sorry. So I usually use a metal straight edge and one of these rotary cutters. They're really nice for doing this kind of work. And so what I had said was I was kind of looking at this area here for the front. So I know that that's about where I want my cover to be, and you only need about 1 inch or so off the side. So I'm gonna say about right there is where I want to cut this. And I'm just going to kind of eyeball this. There's a straight edge to work off of, and so I just line it up with this. Makes it a lot easier. And probably not gonna go very much off of this side, so there's I love these rotary cutters. They're about the best thing invented when you're cutting fabric. So I'm just gonna leave myself, like I said, about an inch all the way around. If you've got a random pattern, it's pretty forgiving, so it doesn't have to be completely exact, but I don't want it too far off. That side actually looks pretty good, so I'm just gonna trim right at the edge just to clean it up a little bit. Okay. So now we have our fabric cut. And this is going to be the front of our journal. And so what we want to do next is to go ahead and glue this down. I use Fabric-Tac for almost everything. You can also use the tacky glue on this too. I think it works, fairly well. And I think it helps to have that paper backing on this side. It just kind of gives it a little bit something extra to adhere to. And then I always go down this part here, and I usually tend to just do like half at a time. So this, I'm just doing the front cover at this point. And the other thing that I like about this glue is it gives me a little bit of time to move things around if I need to. So I can kind of shift things a little bit one way or another if I want to move things. I think that looks pretty good. And so then I'm going to go down this crease and just very gently, because I don't want to, damage the spine in that groove, but I just kind of run that down through there just to give it a little bit of a crease right there. Okay, and go ahead and spine and down this side. Trying to keep these videos fairly short, and it's been taking a really long time lately to upload. I don't know why. I don't know what the problem is, if it's my internet connection. Okay guys, my video shut off right when I was getting ready to glue this other side, and I ran out of storage. I had to make some quick adjustments there. But I had to glue this part down because I already had the glue on it. So this is where we left off. I was gluing this other side here. And you know, I'm looking at this and I had this as the front. But now I'm seeing this, and I also like it. So I don't know what we'll end up with. It's hard to say, but that's the fun part of this. It can, you know, be turned either way. And you know, it's not going to matter until you start putting the inside in. So this has all been glued down. This has been creased on the spine just to kind of give that a little bit of definition. And now we're going to do this part. And this is the part that some people get a little bit nervous about. And, you know, I had a hard time with it at first too, but once you do a few of them, it's pretty easy and you get used to it. But you need to first miter the corners. So what I do, and you don't want to go all the way to the corner of the book, you want to come just a little bit outside of it so that when you fold it over, it covers up that corner. So what I do is just kind of make a slit right there, and you can see I'm just maybe about an 1/8 or 1/16 of an inch away from that corner, and then you're going to angle it up and just take off that little bit, and you're going to do that on all 4 sides. So that way, angle it, and it doesn't have to be perfect angles. I don't know if you can hear the dog barking. My oldest daughter is gonna come visit today, and she's gonna be bringing her dog, and I don't know if they're here yet, so I was trying to get this video done before they got here. It sounds like they're here because I hear the pitter-patter of extra feet. And she jumps the baby gate. Her dog jumps the baby gate, so. Okay. So all 4 of the corners are done. And I'm gonna stop right there for a minute, and we'll get back to this in just a second. Okay. Sorry about that. We might get through this video today. I don't know. It's one of those days here. I think it's the rain. I don't know. It's crazy. Okay, so we have all 4 corners mitered, and our next step is to go ahead and fold these down and attach them. So I usually start with the long side first, and I don't know why, it just seems to make a nicer corner and cover it better. I don't know. I could be imagining that. So you just want to try to keep it as tight as possible, and like I said, this glue gives me a little bit of time to move things around so I can pull things a little bit and shift it around. But you just need to take your time, pull it down and over, make sure that it's snug. Now, these will be covered up later with end papers. So you don't have to worry, you know, that it's not completely straight or whatever. That'll be fixed later. And then I kind of take time to, as I'm doing this, to kind of like fold the book closed again, just to kind of make sure that the fabric's got enough room to move with the book when you open and close it. And then I will go to the opposite side. So I do both long sides and then we'll move on to the shorter ends. I just kind of use my table as a pressing tool to get that nice and pressed on there. And then once it starts, the glue starts to set up and it starts to grab, then I can just come back in and flatten it down some more. Okay. You'll see when you fold this, it'll bunch up a little bit here, and I just kind of try to work it down to, you know, where it's gonna lay best. Okay, so our two long ends are done, and now we go to this part, and this is where you're going to see a little bit more of the, you know, you get the corner, and I'm looking here, that might need, no, I think we're okay. Maybe just trim this just a tiny bit more of an angle. You just, basically you're taking out some of the bulk so that the fabric lays nice when you fold it up. So this one, it's going to be a little bit harder to show. Hopefully I get in frame there and I can kind of walk you through this part. So you are going to kind of roll this in on the corners. So that when you fold this over, your corner is covered. Hopefully you can see that. I'll show it a little more close up. See how I've kind of folded that in and then on the long end, and then folded the short end over it. So it kind of covers up that corner. That's sort of what you're going for. Sometimes you just have to work with the fabric to kind of get it to lay the best way for it, for the shape of the corner. Okay, and last side, and then we are all done with this part of the video. So next time we will be probably picking, putting papers together, picking out papers, that sort of thing, putting signatures together, and then it'll have to be probably a couple different videos, but just kind of maybe the selection process of papers and that sort of thing, and kind of getting all of the insides gathered up, and then we'll work on actually sewing them into a hidden binding and that, so that'll probably be a couple videos from now. But this is basically it for the cover for now. I'll end up doing some more decorating on it later, once I get everything else put together. But for right now, the cover will just get set aside until we get all the signatures put together, and then get ready to sew it in to the book cover. But that is it. If you've got any questions or anything, you know, leave a comment. I'll try to answer them, and I will link some of the other videos that I found helpful in the comments, so you guys are in the description box, and you guys can check those out too. And you know, it always is nice to get a couple different perspectives on how to do these, because everybody does them a little bit different, and you might find a method that works better for you. And this is just what works for me right now, but I will always keep my eye open for other ways to do stuff. So that's all for today. We'll see you next time, and we'll start working on the inside. Bye.